G'day guys, welcome back to the channel. Now we've literally just returned from our 49-day trip to Europe, and I'm going to start a 4-part tutorial into Ride with GPS. Now let's get going. I hope you enjoy it. Please like and subscribe if you do. It means a lot. So without further ado, let's get to the computer and look at Ride with GPS.
Now this is the first of a 4-part series of videos, and part 1 is going to be basically a very basic overview of how to find things like campsites and hotels, moving your start point. Part 2 is going to be about planning the route, choosing distances and splitting the route. Part 3 is going to be about using Ride with GPS, the Ride with GPS app on your phone, and part 4 is going to be an overview of basically the whole lot, just a quick overview and to run through everything that we've covered. Now, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments below and we will try to answer them as quickly as possible. Okay, so let's get into it. Now, I've been through a lot of this stuff before in previous videos. I will link to them, but I'll just run through it quickly. Now, this is Ride with GPS, and I've got open the route that I created, which was Ajaccio to Corsica, West Coast. And as you can see there, this is just an outline of it on the left hand side, and on the right hand side we have basically the surface types and the gradients. So the solid red color is a paved road, and this little hashed area here is either a gravel road or it doesn't know what type of surface it is. And you can actually rest your mouse on it and it tells you the gradient of the climb. So there's quite a few hills. Corsica was absolutely stunning. Yeah, it was just beautiful. So anyway, let's get into it. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go into the route planner, and we're going to actually edit this whole route that we're working on at the moment, which again is Ajaccio in Corsica through to Bastia. So from the west coast of Corsica across to the east. And the way we edit it, we can come up here and click edit, and it gives us 2 options. We can edit it in the planner or change the start location. Now in this case, we're just going to edit it in the planner. So we'll click edit, and it takes us into our route. We'll just let it load. Internet's a bit slow at the moment, and as you can see, it's got the name there, it's got the type of surfaces and all the cue sheets. Now this is 246 kilometers. We're not going to do this all in one day. Now what I like to do is I like to break it down in 2 days. This is just the overview of it. Now firstly, I like to decide how many kilometers a day that I'm going to travel, and I found my sweet spot is between, say, 40 and 60 kilometers a day. Now that gives me enough time not to necessarily rush during the day on the route. It lets me get to my campsite or accommodation at a reasonable time, and also it lets me gives me enough time at the destination to enjoy that destination. There's nothing worse, well, for me, is getting to a destination at 5-6 o'clock in the afternoon and you're absolutely knackered and you can't enjoy it. So normally I decide how many kilometers I like to do each day, and on this case it was roughly about 40 kilometers. Now what we're going to do is I'm just going to zoom in here and just come down. Now, we knew that we were going to be staying in a hotel. Now, I always like to stay in a hotel or an Airbnb or something like that on the night before starting a big ride like this. It lets me get sorted, rested, let me check all my gear and let it all get together. So this was our accommodation in Ajaccio, and so what we've done is we've marked it. Now, to find points, RideWithGPS allows you to use several types of maps. Now, if we come up here to the kind of top right and click on that little box there, it gives you all the maps that RideWithGPS allows you to use. So this is the RideWithGPS maps, Google Map, Google Satellite, loads of other things, Google Hybrid, Google Terrain, OpenStreetMap, OpenStreetMap Cycle. As you can see, there are loads of them. Now, normally the ones I like to use are, I switch between OpenStreetMap Cycle and Google Maps. Now, the reason for this is OpenStreetMap Cycles doesn't necessarily give you the detail that you need for things like campsites and such like. So if we zoom into OpenStreetMap's Cycle, obviously I knew the hotel was going to be around there. I knew the address of the hotel, so it's in there. Now, if I was looking, now we'll move on to this shortly, but basically looking for instance, like a campsite or something like that, it's very difficult to see in OpenStreetMap's Cycle. So what I then do is I switch to the Google Map, and then it gives you everything that you would see in, more or less everything that you would see in Google Maps. So here you go, Ibis Styles, Ajaccio, Napoleon. And I put the address in there, and that was our start point. Now, moving out, we knew we were going to do roughly 40 to 60 Ks a day. I created the route basically on the west coast, taking into account any cycle routes. So in this case, on the west coast of Corsica, there isn't any cycle routes. And I'll just zoom out and show you a cycle route, how a cycle route would show. Now, the cycle routes will show something like this. This is the GT20 on Corsica, and the cycle routes are either red or a different type of color. So we were doing the west coast, and there aren't any cycle routes on the west coast. So the GT20 kind of joins it about there. Okay, so what I did was I clicked on the start location, and then basically clicked on the road that we were going to be taking. And 40 to 60 Ks, we wanted to camp. So roughly 40 Ks into it, as you can see, there wasn't a campsite at 40 Ks. So basically what we did was you go to the next closest one, which, I mean, at 40 Ks there was nothing there. It was basically a road on the coast, so nothing there. So we then moved on to where we could find the next campsite, and here you go. And this was the campsite here, Camping Mandrel. Now, to add a campsite, basically what we did, this is a point of interest. So in RideWithGPS, you come over to the right hand side and you go click POI. Now, I've already got one there, but I'll just show you again anyway. click a POI, and then it will come up with a generic sort of box like this. So once I've got to this sort of box, I like to give it some sort of meaningful mark. In RideWithGPS, you have all these different types of marks. So viewpoint, food, parking, lodging, camping, there's loads of them. Okay, so in this case, it was a campsite. And then all I did was I would put in the details of the campsite. And click save. And then that point of interest is saved on the map. Now, it's always a good idea to save your map after you've done a bit of work to it. If you make a mistake, you can undo at the top here. So I've just undone it, removed it, and then you can come down here and save. Now, RideWithGPS gives you different things. Basically, this one I'm going to update. I would update, or you can save it as a new route. I always make the visibility private, just for me in this case. This is just a rough route at the moment, and you can organize them into events, so you can group them together. So for instance, they're Corsica West Coast, so you can save. When we get into splitting routes, I'll show you what that is all about. And so there we go. So Camping Moundrail, 51 kilometers, and we'll move on to the next one. So the route is there. So our next accommodation should have been about 90 kilometers, and as you can see, RideWithGPS has distance markers, so it gives you an idea of how long you're going to travel. And we'll come back up here. So 91 kilometers. Now, there wasn't any camping at 91 kilometers. So this day is going to be a short day. At Sierra, there was no camps. There's no campsites there. So in this case, we decided to stay in a hotel. And here you go, possible hotel night. Again, dropped a point, dropped a POI, made it a lodging, and then in the planning of it, made it a possible hotel night. Now, here's a thing for you in that we'll go back to the bottom here. Remember what I said, the solid was a paved road, and the hash bit there is either gravel or unknown road. Now, and when you move your cursor over the certain location, you can see that your dot moves. Now, in this case, we were towing trailers. I really didn't want to be going on gravel, so we decided to change that. We really, and it's a gravel, looks like a steep hill as well. It is a very steep hill, like unpaid 16% climb. So we weren't doing that with trailers. So the way that you can edit a track is you can basically move your dot to where you want it to go, click on it, keep your left mouse button clicked, and then you can just drag it over to here. And here, this is a good example. This is basically where we picked up the GT20 a way back, but we then we got rid of that gravel track, the goat track. Corsica has lots of goats, so we got rid of that goat track in the middle of the road. We flipped back onto the road. Although it is still a fair climb, at least it's paved. Okay, and then you just carry on like that all the way through until you get to the end. You choose your distance, and basically what I do is, like for instance here, there's 2 campsites. I put both in just as a precautionary measure. Hope for the best, plan for the worst. Now, we planned to stay at this campsite. However, at Sierra here there was no supermarkets. We were running quite low on food. Now, food's going to be the next set of videos. Running quite low on food, so we decided to switch from this one here to this one there at Galleria, because it was just down the road from a supermarket. And there we go. This is the whole route, 246 k's. You'll see that the campsites are roughly 40 to 50 k's apart, and then all the way through to Bastia, which was that was just quite a short day, which was about 30 k's. Now, that concludes this video. It's given you a quick overview on how to look for accommodation, choose your distances, and how to edit the route very briefly. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about splitting this route into different days. Now, I hope you've enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, hit that notification bell for updates, and we will see you in the next part.